go, and then let's click that. Right, we're back. Volume 3. Can you all see my screen on your screens with the Sweeney, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so we got varying levels of, we're in different countries. There's probably a fair few, I get the sense there's a few substances going on, but we're back.
Just in Rob's house.
You got to unmute, Rob. You got to unmute.
Sorry. I feel absolutely discriminated against right now.
I wasn't even thinking about you. I think Kev's had some major surgery. I think he's got some pretty interesting mind-altering substances going on too. Anyway, and the thing is, if you're in the United States, then depending on where you are, yeah, it's not even a question of legality, right? It's all different. Anyway, let's get on to Sweeney. So Sweeney, I think we talked about, we like Wes's process. Sweeney might be great. Well, he won't be great, but he might be good. He might be usable. We don't really know. We'll have to see on the reveal. But I think we will like the process on Sweeney. So there are other guys right now as we sit here, that might be as good as Sweeney. And we're at the 5th pick of the 3rd round right now. But you can't really know with quarterbacks. It doesn't harm to pick them if you've got one and you need one. Right, Joel, you're up next. 24 pick of the draft. You went for this guy Turner.
Yep.
So what do we make of this guy?
Well, when I drafted him first round, I want to make sure I've interviewed him, and he was one of the few guys that I did interview that I thought could go here, and he's a scheme fit. I could move him to guard if I wanted to. I think he's a high 50, low 60, and he's ready to play week 1, and he's stupidly smart.
Yeah. Any guys, any views on this guy?
So I have a question around the endurance. To me, that's pretty low. So how's that going to affect him?
Shouldn't at all. I haven't really seen it do much negatively.
Yeah, offensive lineman, I don't worry too much about endurance if everything else is there, but I could be wrong.
I mean, that's been my experience. I don't think that the endurance makes as much difference as some of the other position groups. Endurance clearly makes a lot of difference. I've had plenty of good O-linemen that not really have very good endurance. So, look,
the question is later in the season, does it become an issue? Because I do get some guys getting tired, but
yeah,
how much effect I don't know. But
I mean, I think in any event, this will be enough. It's not like it's a 0. I mean, Rob said his one was unsexy. I thought his one was fine. This one, I guess, is the epitome of unsexy, right? But
yeah,
it's a tackle.
That's really unsexy.
This is absolute need and fitting a new scheme that I want to adapt. And yeah.
Is there an affinity angle for this, Joel?
Yeah, he should have an affinity with. So he's in the blue star sign group, which is the same as Dan Skin, which is the same as the O-line leader. So yeah, there's an affinity. He's smart, and he run blocks, and he's ready to go week 1. So yeah, that was my thought process.
So that's the logic. You can see the logic there, and in a week class, you can kind of see how you get to that. Next one. So Julio started trading in, right? So he had 2 picks in a row.
Yeah.
Did he deal in for these picks?
I was really close to picking Huntley.
Yeah, that shape.
That's a guy.
Yeah, that shape.
That's the guy I was talking about.
That shape tends to work. I don't know why. It's not a scientific view.
Also, the sub 540 seems to be a good thing to have on guard.
Yeah, that maps to the run blocking, right? Doesn't it? I think it does.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And that's pretty close to elite. On my 0 to 100 score, based on that level, I get to 95. So, this will go, be fine. You didn't think about this. The reason why you didn't go for this guy, Joel, as opposed to your guys, I guess it's more valuable to be a tackle than a guard. And then there's the affinity stuff too.
It's not just that. It's the ability to not have a guy sitting deactivated for a year. The guy I picked will play week 1 because he should be coming in week 1 at about 60% developed. So he's ready to go. This guy will have to wait a year to play him.
It'd be interesting to see if Hugo does that. I don't know if he will or it won't.
No, I don't think he will, but for me, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. If he does, it'll be to Rob's benefit. So you'll want to see him go straight in, Rob. You got to develop them somehow, right? Then we've got this Berry. I think we talked about the receivers in a block, but Barry, look, I mean, it's not thrilling, but I mean, this is quite a valuable asset, right? This could be the second receiver. He's not very highly developed.
This is actually a guy that would work well on the Chargers because of that third down catching.
He looks just like Wally Brady as well, who's another good reference point as to what this guy can become. So I think he's a decent player. Yeah.
I mean, I think he's probably been picked at about the right place, but on my calculations, at least, this was the third best receiver. You know, and probably a pick I'd rather be making this guy here than the guys that went at 12 and around 12, 13, whatever.
Yeah, you'd be questioning this pick around 12 and 13, wouldn't you? But once it starts to get down here, you start to understand it.
Why do you think he's better, Jamie, than the guys further up?
A lot of it's just simply this thing I use, which just calculates what it expects them to turn out as. And it just sort of, for whatever reason, it just likes these bars and whatever. So that's part of it. The fact that he's young is good, although the other one, Hampton, is young, who went at 13. Yeah, young is good because you get them for longer. So if they're any good, then if he's average, you get an average pair for longer. And then, you know, there's no combines, right? So that can sometimes, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but you don't know if it's a bad thing. What you can see is fine. And so just when you add all that up, you know, when you compare it to other players that come through in the past, not exciting, not sexy for me. This is the second receiver in your team, not the first, but a decent chance of being a pretty good second receiver on the team, which is a valuable thing to have, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I like him. I was sleeping, or I would have. I have to be honest. He totally went under the radar for me. I wasn't paying attention. I would have taken a chance on him like this, especially the kick returning. This is a great pick for him, in my opinion.
I mean, this guy looks like a slot receiver to me. I mean, put him at that 1-1-3 and let him go against the third corner.
Yeah. Yep. If you can do that, you sort of afford yourself the luxury of doing that. And you'll be well ahead.
That may be a whole different show. We should do a show on that sometime. Just not necessarily game planning, but just different things that you do. You know, I don't know. Just thinking off the top of my head.
Well, I mean, so for example, the way I play this game, I don't use 11 personnel nearly as much as most others. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't be trying to pick this guy and trying to get more roster anyway. He's young, he's quite good. So that's Barry. Let's keep going. So after that, another tight end came off the board. So this guy, Taylor. So what do we think here? Let's have a look at him. I had this guy on it's an affinity conflict for me. So it didn't look super close, but I had him as sort of about as good as the pick, sort of late 20s on my board.
Yeah, I think he'll come out looking better than he is because he's got the blocking bars, but he's okay, isn't he? He's okay.
One thing to bear in mind on someone like this is that, remember, with tight ends, it's slightly unusual one, the static, which is this bar here, big player rating. For some reason, it almost, I think it might be almost never, but it goes to like 70 odd, right? It never goes to 100.
The cap is 77. So if you see a 77 BPR on a tight end, that's it at the max.
Yeah, which is, I don't get why that is.
Probably because they're bigger, they didn't run as fast. I don't think, maybe the way Jim's coded it doesn't allow for that difference. So he's had to put a cap on it without being able to go into the code and say a tight end's 100 is this compared to a wide receiver's 100, I don't know.
Right. But I mean, this guy, therefore, if this was a wide receiver, for example, and you mapped it onto a 0-100 scale from 0 to 77, this guy would have like, I don't know, whatever it is. I can't do it in my head, 45 to 70 or something, big play receiving, not 35 to 53. And if he had that, we'd all be looking at that and going, well, that's a better pick than 27. So I think I mean, if you add all that up, I actually quite like this guy. I think this guy's a bit under the radar. I think this guy could have gone a bit higher up. I'm trying to run on my other screen here, my little spreadsheet thing, and see what it thinks of other players that look like this guy. But I think it'll probably be pretty positive. I'm not hyper positive, but it still thinks this guy's going to be like a 60 rated clear, tight. This guy'd be pretty good, I think. So I think,
2 out of 3 picks for Hooper.
yeah, I think this guy could have gone a bit higher. I mean, anyone disagree? I'd have been happier taking this guy. I'd have been happy taking this guy sort of in the teens or 15, something like that.
If I hadn't traded for Mikey's tight end, I'd have taken a serious look at him.
Yeah.
This is another guy I was sleeping on. This was, when I look back on this draft, I'm going to be furious at myself. I guess if there's a draft to not take as serious or not spend as much time on, it's this one, because it on the surface, it does look like crap compared to some of the ones we've had in the past.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I hadn't traded for Sharp, I almost certainly would have taken that tight end, I think, if I'd have really looked at it, because I would have had the 25th pick or whatever. And if you hadn't, I can't remember what it was. And if you hadn't have taken him, then Rob or anyone before me, then I think that was what I would have done. Next one, this is another one of the Sharp picks. I think I originally had this pick 28, and so he's gone for a big D tackle. So he's gone for a 3'4", 330-pound nose tackle with really good pass rushing bars. So let's see if that holds up. Not the world's best endurance. What do we think on this guy?
I like him. I think he's a tremendous nose tackle type player. He not only clogs holes, but he clogs toilets, a big dude like that. So, yeah, I like him.
Good commentary. Way to drop the load there. Yeah, I say the same thing with D linemen, same thing as O linemen. It's almost like that sub 5:40 time. It's almost like a marker, right? Where it's, it's one of the first thing I look for in any lineman is to see if they come in sub 5, just to then take a look at the rest. Yeah,
I mean, imagine being as big as that and being able to run that far. I mean, it's NFL realistic, right? You see people who can do it. It's just unbelievable. So I don't know. I presume Max is a 3-4 guy. I mean, obviously not. If you're not 3-4, you probably don't want this guy. But
he's a 4-3 guy.
Oh, is he? Oh, well, we might have to start thinking about that. But
slightly, do you think Max has made a mistake by getting rid of Rico and not even getting any kind of quarterback?
No, not really. I think the guy he's got in black belt, Rico was putting up 80 QBR-ish. You can get as Kevin will test to. You can get any QB really if he fits your system to put out.
I think with Rico, I mean he had different skills. I think you could get more of an 85 out of Rico.
Oh yeah, but if Max is only getting 85 out of him, then
yeah.
No, I hope so. I mean, look, the plan is to be much more vertical, and he shouldn't throw out many picks, right? And all being well, it will pan out.
I wouldn't be matching you all the way up to there if I didn't see something in him more than Alec McCormick, for example.
But I mean, we were saying
didn't want Diaz. I'm sorry.
He didn't want Diaz, Rob. There wasn't a lot of demand for Diaz. The demand that was there was some demand at the back end of the first sort of level, but there wasn't. People who were trying to do that couldn't make the caps work. And then a bit of time passed, and I've had to take a third for him, and that was, I had to just move on.
I could have, but you might be late to the party, Rob. I had my gallbladder out this morning, so we're. I've been working on some issues this week, so haven't been.
Yeah,
haven't been on top of
things. To you, KO.
Well, hell, I'm here, right?
Yeah, no, that's just dedicated, man.
Well, there's nothing that helps with recovery more than this, right?
That's right. I got time to look at shit.
So that's 20 anyway. I think it'd be fine. I think there's a general debate about whether D tackle is a position that makes much difference, but if it doesn't, at least it's only a 28th pick.
I think you can play him in the personnel and you can move him as a defensive end, even if he's a defensive tackle. Anyways, I think.
I kind of subscribe to what Nick said in that D tackle. They don't show up in the stat line, but I think they improve other people's stats.
Yeah, I do wonder whether it's one.
Because that's kind of how it works in the NFL, right? So
yeah, I mean, part of it for me though is, I mean, I'm very happy to advertise on in this conversation, and whenever I'm, if you want to run against my teams, go for it. Please do it. Right, I'd be delighted. My defensive tackles will be awful. My run defense and linebackers will be awful. Keep running. Set your game plans. High percentage running. Please do it. Right, I'll be passing it back at your team, and I'll probably win. Right.
And I'm working on the defense for that one.
But again, we need another video to talk about game planning, don't we?
I think there's about 1,000 different ways people come about from that angle, so that'd be fun.
You see
I
Zach
also
Stone
think-
again, by the way. He's 15-1 in the IHOF. He's managed to figure out how to do it for 8.3. He's figured it out again.
Who's
Doesn't
this?
surprise me.
He's a clever person.
Who's
Yeah,
this?
he's just so methodical. He's so
Um,
methodical.
But hey, anyway, let's move on. So the next one, the D tackle. I thought D tackle was fine. I would take this guy before that D tackle was gone at 29 to Carolina. Cornerback, how do you pronounce that? Peterzik. I quite like this one.
I like him.
Yeah, I definitely above the D tackle.
I
Yeah.
considered him at what I picked 1-2-1. I think when I took the guard, I came real close to taking this guy, but I didn't. Ultimately, to be honest with you, it's the Julio effect. I didn't take him because of his intelligence, and I don't know if I'll kick myself in the ass for that later.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't know how much it matters. I like this guy quite a lot, actually. I don't know why, but I've got a habit of thinking on these when we do these videos. I really like defensive backs, and they're not as good as I think they're going to be.
This shows how much of a good guy Pip is. So Pip took this guy, and he was actually telling me to take him at 1.18. So he's actually trying to give me his best player. I thought that was pretty nice guy.
Yeah, good on him.
What
Pip's the best.
I wouldn't do that.
I think this guy could be a turnover causing machine with the punishing hitter and interceptions, and you can play him on special teams, force some fumbles on those punt returns.
Yeah, I kind of like this guy, and I wouldn't worry too much about the height and weight. Small or whatever, but
Doesn't mean a thing. Doesn't mean a thing. At least in my opinion, I've had plenty of short players played defensive back. In fact, I think I had one in AFL was like 5'5", 5'6", something like that. And I mean, he wasn't a superstar, but he was very solid.
Yeah, I had a guy like this, and I was worried about the height, and it was in the early few seasons when I was playing in GML, and I wasn't sure whether to pay him or not. So I didn't pay him and let him go to free agency, and then Ben took him, and then I realised that you don't care about height and weight for the cornerbacks.
I wish it did matter.
Pro Bowl career.
Well, I care more about weight than I do about height.
You can't go to safety
because one of the things I see on the defensive line, especially, is if I'm trying to play my a lighter defensive end in the middle on 3rd and long, it just doesn't seem to pan out.
I can remember Jim doing. It must be about 4 or 5 years ago. He did a question session with Ben, and he 100% said height mattered in the 20-yard. 100%. It's still on FOF somewhere.
Mattered in what?
How long ago was it?
The red zone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know.
That was a question Ben or someone put in, and Jim said that. I massively remember it.
Well, when Carolina defends the tight end I just sent to New England for a first-round pick, who was 75 rated and 6'6", and all the red zone things were in place. I guess we'll find out. I mean, it could be candy. It should be candy from a baby, but who knows? Anyway, I like this pick, 29th pick in a tough draft class. I thought that was
Great
a good
pick.
One. Yeah. Next one, Indianapolis. So this is query whether this guy can go to defensive end, 6'3", 255.
Yeah, he can. I would.
I probably would as well.
Joel, what do I think of these guys? You know me. What do I think of these guys?
Defensive ends?
No, the linebacker turned defensive ends, man. We talk about this all the time.
All the time.
I think they're great 5th, 6th, 7th round projects.
You got a great one Kevin. You got a great one, and I tried to trade you for it.
I've been doing that one for years. Is look for those guys in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. They transfer really well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they don't transfer well up top, but I'm just saying, at value prospect, you can get some good pass rushers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the point. If you've got a nice stable of those, and you've kind of got a load of them that you've been doing over, as you say, many off seasons, then maybe you don't need to pick a guy like this. But if you want a guy like this, then great. The statics not there would be a concern for me. I'd want the pass rush strength in the first round pick to be better than that. Would be my concern.
I think it works out because his punishing hit is a little higher than it should be as well. So it's kind of
Well, plus, even if you don't convert him, I mean, his zone is high enough to where he can play linebacker effectively anyway. So
he's also got a dodgy static, I think. I'm sorry, combine. So he's which one is it that's dodgy? His broad jump is dodgy. Do we care? Do we care about that? Yeah. I'm just looking at my little thing, and I'm saying players like this would have had broad jump of that or worse than that, right? So just what are the comparables?
Is that an endurance thing on linebackers too?
I don't know what it is. So.
Because the one thing I have noticed, it seems when I get players that bust out a bit, it almost always seems to be tied to endurance. The guys got low endurance, it seems like they're more likely to.
I'm just looking it up.
Anecdotal, totally.
So hang on, so I'll bring it on the screen, right? I don't know if you can be able to see this. Let's have a go. Let's see if this works. Maybe it doesn't. Can you guys see this on my screen? Yeah. So first thing, combine scores and the player ratings they influence. This is the thing, right? So linebackers, the broad jump is supposed to be bumper run defense and man-to-man defense. But I agree with, I don't think that's all it is. Quite this grid was put on FFC ages ago. I don't think it's the entire, I don't think it's, I'm not saying I think you're wrong. Then we go down here. What this thing's trying to do, hang on, let me just make this bigger so that you guys can see it. One sec. All right, so what this, can you see that maybe? I don't know, we'll make it even bigger. Yeah. Right, so what this thing's trying to do, here's the player, Fisher. And then what I've done is I've basically said to this database players, pick the ones that are most similar to Fisher, but then limit the broad jump here to be worse or the same as Fisher's. And on a 0 to 100 scale, I make it 30. On these guys, you get the top 5 players. 3 of them are in line with what you're expecting to see. 2 of them are a bit worse. So there's a chance that this guy Fisher, because of that combine, you can't really see it, but it's not ideal. So I mean, I think for this guy, there's a couple of question marks as to whether he comes out and these bars turn out to be real. I'd be like 50-50 chance of him just straight up busting out. But if he doesn't, he'll be fine.
Well, in this case, broad jump, I think you're seeing that as man-to-man. I know there's some of the positions broad jump is endurance, but it's just man-to-man and bump and run here. So, and frankly, in a linebacker, I'm going to care more about zone anyway, unless he's a.
And we want to convert him to D end anyway. So all being well, exactly. It's going to be fine. So fingers crossed on that pick. I think you need a bit of luck there when he reveals, but if he's all right, then he's all right. And again, that kind of needing a bit of luck for me is the sort of thing you're probably looking for a second round pick from the first, but that's life. Right, this guy's interesting because he's a safety and he looks amazing except for one bar, which is just completely out of whack for what you'd expect from a safety, right? So what do we think here? I've got no idea what to make of this.
Free safety. I would never play him at strong.
And you just hope he looks like this when he reveals.
Well, and the scary part about that is his speed for free safety is way too low for free safety. So I don't know.
I think, was there a trade up to this pick? I think there was, wasn't there?
Not sure. I had him very overrated. I've scattered this guy.
There's another one that I might just put into my gizmo here because it's kind of such an unusual prospect. Let's have a look. Where is he down here? I've got no idea. Let's do this. Hopefully this isn't too boring.
The combine matches the man-to-man, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so the dash combine isn't what you want.
Yeah.
And the man-to-man isn't what you want. So two scary things. The 40 all went into zone. And unfortunately, it's a very low 40, so he might be not very good in zone. He might not be fast enough to play the deep field. It's a super unusual prospect. I don't think you see many like this at all.
And that stat is off the charts, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so the stats is good. So, I mean, just looking at this, again, put it on the screen.
I wish Nick was here. He knows something about the statics with the DBs. I don't know if I'm going to get it quite right. It's the bench press, isn't it? It's punishing hitter, but it also translates to bump and run. So ideally, you can have a really low static in a DB as long as bump and run's high or something like that. I remember him saying it in like the old draft we used to have when the old lines GM difficult one, but I'll ask him if he comes in.
But I think I don't think we'll have a. I mean, I've just looked up my spreadsheet thing, and those red flags are probably, for me, that would probably be a bit that tipped me over. I think the chance of this guy coming out as elite probably quite severely impacted by these red flags, but who knows? We'll see. Again, I think we're getting more into second round style picks here, which is no surprise because we're getting right to the end of the first round. Last pick, this guy Munro. So pretty unusual to see a zero static guy in the first round, but what do we think Tampa we're looking at here?
Willie seems to make a QB nearly every draft high up at the moment. I've noticed that from Schefter.
I think he's got a style of quarterback he likes as well. I don't know Willie well enough. I haven't seen him enough of what he does, but from what I gathered he said is that he likes a QB with a massive timing bar, and everything else can just basically do one. So maybe that's what he's doing here.
Yeah, I think that's part of that seems to be the way it's going. It's funny, when I was shopping Diaz, there was a lot of people talking about the timing bar. So it's clearly become, it's a fashionable thing at the moment. I don't know if people that are into it have been into it for a long time or whatever, but I've never heard so many people talk about it.
I like Diaz because of his accuracy. I go the other way because of the what's that offense I run? But I it's more medium and deep level passing, which is what theoretically accuracy ties to.
Yeah, I mean Diaz obviously has done enough for me, but I think that I don't know what the timing thing is. I literally just have got no idea what it is, what you're supposed to be doing on that. But there are people who are doing it. So this guy fits into that. If height matters, he's tall, so that's good.
I'll just bring up the thingy, the help file in the game. I'll see what timing does if we can find it.
It's supposed to be short pass.
Yeah.
And I had those two backwards for years, so I was actually drafting the wrong quarterbacks for my last team.
Yeah, so it's the receiver being
because it's backwards in my mind, right? You want accuracy for the deep throws, timing for the short. Also, the other nice thing about this guy that I like, the bars that matches, because he's 4.38, fast as hell, and high scramble. So this guy's going to get out of a lot of trouble with his legs.
Yeah. He's young too, and you know what? His development for the age, I'm just looking at him on the other screen, his development for the age is great. So I often find when you've got a player with really unusually high development for the age, which this guy has, sometimes that can be an indicator where you've got a low static and you can still feel some comfort. I think you kind of look at the two in tandem sometimes. You say, okay, the static is there or isn't there, but also is the player quite well developed for the age? And if he is, then you might be able to be a bit more willing to look at a low static. Now, for me, when you're having that kind of conversation in your head while you're thinking about whether to pick somebody, that's not a first round conversation at any other position. But for a quarterback, if there's something here he likes, is something that fits with what he's done in the past, or maybe he looks like a player that he's had in the past that has worked really well or whatever, then why not, right? If you need a quarterback, it's the best way to go.
Timing in short passing, that used to be one of the old tells as well in the older versions. So if the short pass and the timing bar were far to the right, that was quite a big tell, if I remember.
Oh, well, on the mask or whatever.
The older version.
And the matched pairs stuff
was the other one.
I mean, these days you just try and figure out what Zach's doing and copy it, but on quarterbacks, I mean, I've got no idea what he's doing, but he's got all these 25 rated guys that just do well, so he's figured something out. But it'll take a while for that to permeate, and I certainly don't know what it is. So hey, look, that's the first round, and look, Zoom's trying to throw us out again. What else do we want to cover? Anything else?
One thing
wants to cover?
I don't know if you guys want to do it, but especially you guys, you really know what you're talking about. I'd be really keen to see this being redone again about week 6 and just see, how these guys have progressed after they've been revealed.
Yeah,
that'd be quite a cool video, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like doing it. I think these videos are great. First of all, a good laugh to do, but also, I just think I don't know if Rob's still on, by the way. I think Rob may have had to drop off, but it's
got a work call apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's a credit to Rob that we've managed to get all this going around this league that we're in. It is just very cool, and long may it continue. And yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, we should definitely think of things we're doing. And the other one I want to do, I mean, it came up earlier, is this idea that we sort of do maybe some zoom ins on game planning and stuff. I mean, it would be, talk about Zach again. I mean, I'd love to try and persuade him to come on and talk about the things he sees that are interesting in this league from a game planning perspective, because he analyzes it in such close detail. And he is just so advanced on it. And there's a lot of quirks. You see different quirks. I mean, one we've talked about in these videos before. You know, I've got a couple of quirks in the way I've done it that I've seen other people are doing, like, you know, throw loads of receivers on the field when you're in short yardage situations, because it forces the other team into base defense, and that meaningfully, out of base defense meaningfully improves your probability of success, and just stuff like that. And it's cool, you know, just the more of it, the better.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? We're going to leave it there. Only a mere 3 volumes.
I think the one caveat I'd say about this entire first round is because I think we do a lot of the don't know if I take this guy that high and some of that, but I think this draft class is unique in that there was so little actual first round talent. At some point, you got to take somebody because you're not going to get premium picks for trading down. So
absolutely, for sure. And we come back full circle to the beginning conversation,
right,
which is the trades and people getting up the board in this draft because it wasn't a very constructive draft class. I think the second round, actually, I quite like the second round. The back end of the second, I quite liked it. I mean, it's funny how these things can feel different. But, you know, this one's the one that matters the most. And
like I say, there's a lot of good second and third round talent there. Unfortunately, some of these guys are having to go in the first.
For sure. And, you know, that feeling where you know that you're paying too much for a guy, but you've got no other option is just a pretty crap feeling, right?
Right.
And that, by the way, is why it takes so long to get through. I mean, the draft's gone quite slowly this time, because when you're in that position, what do you end up doing? You spend time trying to resolve it, right?
Indeed.
All right. We done?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
it. Good times. See you later. Get it all posted up. Cheers.
Cheers. Have fun.